Chances are, if you've clicked on this video, you know who Tommy Shelby is. His popularity is undeniable, even securing the place as the greatest TV character of all time in the Lad Bible ranking. But what makes Tommy Shelby so attractive as a character, so popular among fans? And more importantly, for the purpose of this video, how can you make yourself more like him? This is the question I'm hopefully going to help you answer today through the analysis of body language and speech, clothing, psychology, and books you can read. Feel free to skip to each segment. This video can be watched in any order. Now, let's get started. Body language and speech. Now, the two most important body language tips that can be instantly applied to make yourself seem more confident and authoritative, like Tommy Shelby, are the following. 1. Move slow. And 2. Take up more space than needed. By moving slow and deliberate, and almost non-reactive essentially, taking your time with movements, it exudes confidence in oneself and the actions oneself is committing to. When your movements are fast and jerky, this indicates insecurity and nervousness. You are neither comfortable in your environment, be it due to other people, a new situation, etc., and or you are not confident in the action you are undergoing. By slowing all of your movements down, you are counteracting this problem. As well as this, the place to which you answer questions depicts your status of power and confidence. It can be seen multiple times throughout Peaky Blinders, as well as in other movies such as James Bond, the speed to which they answer questions, deliberately taking their time, often around 2 to 3 whole seconds before providing an answer.
Well, what now?
I'll continue till I find a man and I can't defeat.
This depicts that they have thought about what they have said, and they are confident in saying so. It also depicts that they do not feel pressure or in a rush to cater to the other person's needs and or interests. Their slow nature exudes confidence. Secondly, by taking up a larger amount of space, be it through the positioning of your body or the placing of personal belongings and or public items such as menus at a cafe, etc., indicates a sign of power. Taking up a greater amount of space communicates to others that you are in a position of power. For example, Tommy Shelby sits in a manner which makes him larger than he actually is, as can be seen by the extruding arm resting on the knee and the other arm pointing out horizontally. Individuals who feel confident as well will subconsciously place their legs and or hands on objects around them, even people, establishing their territory and signaling to others, more or less, that I own this space. It should be noted, however, that leaning on somebody's objects can be seen as a sign of intimidation and an aggressive way to establish dominance. Tommy Shelby is a master at keeping calm and stoic under pressure. Through his unreadable body language, certain actions perceived as unimportant can depict a lot about an individual's comfortability in a situation, as well as their confidence. For example, in Season 5, Episode 3, when Tommy Shelby meets Oswald Mosley with Michael and Arthur, Tommy is first seen sitting in his chair, tightly clenching his hands. His clenched hands depict that he is both nervous, feeling unsafe and or uneasy, and is thus defending himself, and or that he is ready to attack. In this same scene, Arthur is seen shrugging his mouth. This is indicative of an unawareness and the unknowing nature of an individual when faced with a complex situation or a question to which they do not understand. Continuing, just before Tommy picks up the phone, it can be seen that he is fidgeting severely. Fidgeting is a self-soothing action which is done subconsciously to calm us down when entering or amongst a stressful and or scary situation. Fidgeting, however, is not only the telltale sign of such stress. Other fidgety type actions such as clenching, squeezing, and persistently rubbing touching certain parts of the body depict the same self-soothing behavior. Fidgeting, however, can also be an indication of withheld aggression. Take this as a note if you ever find yourself in a sticky situation where events could take a more violent, unpredictable turn. Another noticeable element depicting Thomas's nervousness before meeting Oswald can be seen through the darting nature of his eyes. His eyes are constantly moving around the room, person to person, wall to window, all in a quickened manner. This depicts anxious nervousness. In this case, Tommy is nervous and anxious to meet Mosley, a man who has more power than him. However, as can be seen after answering the phone, and more specifically when Mosley enters the room, Tommy's whole demeanour changes, with the ceasing of fidgeting, the ceasing of his darting eyes, and the consolidation of a calm, non-reactive persona and application of body language. His stoic, unreadable mask has come into action. When in situations like this, do your best to hold eye contact. Speak slowly and move slowly. You never want someone to know, be it in a business meeting, etc., that you are unsure and are unconfident in yourself or your proposed actions. A quick tip: if you want to make someone feel nervous and uneasy, make sure they are sitting with an open space behind them. It's even better if you have a partner or accomplice standing behind the seated person. By doing this, the person becomes nervous and may be submissive with your declarations and advances. Another quick and useful tip is the way in which people smoke cigarettes. If somebody shows you their wrists openly in a gesture, as can be seen by the images attached, this can represent that they are telling the truth and are comfortable being around you. Men most often face their palms inwards as they smoke, depicting a defensive wall, as opposed to the feminine of showing the wrist. In summary, if you want your body language as well as speech to be like Tommy Shelby, you must do the following. Move slowly and deliberately. Speak slowly and deliberately, thinking about each word deeply, and not feeling a pressure to cater to someone else, take up more space than needed, with both body parts and environmental objects. And always be conscious of your own body language. Are you fidgeting? Are your eyes darting? Are you making mouth expressions which give away your nervousness? If you notice you are doing any of these things, consciously make a note and correct them. It is undeniable that not only Tommy Shelby, but the whole Peaky Blinders gang, and really anyone in the TV series, has impeccable style. Now, their style is very formal, and I will be going through each individual piece of clothing and discussing where to purchase them. Firstly, the overcoat. Tommy Shelby wears his overcoat long and heavy, and most often in a dark navy or black. Now, when looking to purchase said overcoats, it will be expensive, as most of these clothing items will be. As you can see on the screen displayed, here are 3 alternative options for an overcoat, with their respective prices and brands, with Garrison Taylor's being the official Peaky Blinders menswear brand. Secondly, the suits. Now the Shelbys will be wearing the best quality suits available to buy. This is most often determined through the grade of wool used in the suit, such as Super 130s and Super 150s. Super essentially indicates the quality of wool being new and pure, whereas the numbers represent the thickness of the actual fibers of wool, with the higher the number, the thinner the material being. Essentially, the higher the suit grade number, the higher the quality of the suit. For yourselves, a suit with a quality of 100 or 110 will be sufficient, as with higher the grade, the higher the cost, ranging from $3,000 to $6,000 for a suit with a wool quality ranging from Super 130 to Super 150. Tommy Shelby most often would wear a suit in the range of Super 200 plus. However, these are extremely rare, as well as extremely expensive, costing near or more $10,000 a suit. The best way to acquire a suit would be to go to a local tailor or suit shop, ask for a Super 110 or lower if money is tight, and experiment. It should also be noted that Tommy Shelby is almost solely known for his elegance and sharpness in a 3-piece suit. If you are going for the full Peaky Blinders suit look, a 3-piece suit is the only option. Below are 3 options for suits which can be purchased online for a cheaper price. Thirdly, the white shirt. As can be seen throughout the series, Tommy Shelby's white shirt underneath his suit coat and vest evolves. Initially starting with something called a penny collar shirt, and evolving into a more modern, simple button-up white shirt. This will most probably be the cheapest aspect of your Peaky Blinders outfit, as well as the most versatile. It is important that you acquire a shirt which is comfortable and affordable, as this is the least distinguishing part of your attire. Below are 3 options, with 1 being the Season 1 penny collar style. Fourth, the shoes. Tommy Shelby has a variety of formal shoes he wears to complement his already extraordinary suits, ranging from a formal shoe to a boot. He either can be attired with a suit and the previously aforementioned clothing items. When purchasing a shoe, you should preferably seek out both leather and hand stitching, as this is most often the best quality of shoe. Below, once again, are 3 options for what can be purchased and worn. Finally, and perhaps most obviously, you cannot become Tommy Shelby without his signature Peaky Blinders cap, also known as a newsboy and or baker boy cap. It is all about finding one you like, one that fits comfortably. Below are 3 available options for purchase. As an extra fun tip, if you are wanting to fully embrace the Peaky Blinders look, it is essential to acquire the haircut. This can be simply done by going to your barber and asking for a 0.5 to 1 on the sides and a neat cut on top. It should also be noted that Tommy's fashion evolves with the times. You can see that his fashion and clothing evolves throughout the series of Peaky Blinders, so it is important for yourselves to keep up with fashion, understand what is popular, and acquire that item. Now, if you acquire all of these items to some degree and pair them together, you will undoubtedly look sharp, professional, and sophisticated, just like Tommy Shelby and the members of the Peaky Blinders gang. The next section focuses on discipline and the importance of scheduling. Arguably the most important aspect of this course relates to the importance of discipline and strategic planning. With regard to discipline, there's not much that can be truthfully taught. It solely relies on your own ability and willpower to push through and achieve greatness. However, I can provide some tips and insight. Firstly, never trust motivation. It should be stated that motivation is useful and good if you have it and grasp it when it pops itself up. But do not solely rely on being motivated to complete your tasks. This is because motivation is not always readily available. Some days you may feel miserable, and the last thing you feel like doing is the work which needs to be completed towards your goals. Thus, the best way to initially get started in becoming more disciplined and ultimately more like Tommy Shelby is that of habit building. Habit building refers to the small building of fruitful actions which will help you achieve your goals. Essentially, with consistent incremental improvements and activities, you should be able to achieve whatever it is you desire. And now, how can you actually build a habit? The answer is willpower. Willpower is the key. Instead of saying I'm going to read 50 pages a day because I'm motivated and will become like Tommy Shelby, or I'm going to read a lot today because that's what Tommy does, instead say I'm going to force myself to read 50 pages today, even if I don't feel like doing it, and even if it takes extra long, because I'm strong enough and smart enough to push through and achieve the goals which I want. Another key in helping you achieve the creation of these habits is to start out incrementally so small that you can all but achieve it. For example, set the initial goal of reading 1 page a day. Through this, you can almost never fail. Once you finish 1 page a day for a week, begin to read 2 pages a day, and so forth, until you build a disciplined habit of reading 20 pages a day. Another beneficial habit that will improve your discipline and mental clarity is that of waking up early and an improved sleeping schedule. Tommy Shelby is constantly seen throughout Peaky Blinders, waking up early, before 6 AM. This is important and a major factor to his success and mental sharpness. The most beneficial sleep you can achieve is between 10 PM and 12 AM. If you are awake after 12 AM, your body spikes in cortisol and adrenaline to keep you awake. This is extremely unhealthy. With having a good night's sleep, your mental clarity, cognitive function, and vitality, as well as motivation, increase a drastic amount. Everyone is different, but a recommended length of sleep is between 8 to 10 hours. Make sure all of your distractions and or electrical devices are off by 9:30 PM, and you are in bed by at least 10:30 PM, to assure you experience a sufficient, deep, refreshing, and productive sleep. I cannot state it any more clearly. What I've provided you for improving discipline is merely tips, and the true work is done by yourself. You need to have the willpower to stay disciplined and achieve the goals you set out to achieve. It is as the quote says, inaction is followed by stagnation, stagnation is followed by pestilence, and pestilence is followed by death. Do not let your life get away through the constant lapsing of your own betterment, through the wrong, undisciplined decisions you consciously made. Now for the second part of this section, the planning and scheduling. Thomas Shelby and the whole Peaky Blinders gang depict exquisite and sharp planning and organisation, be it from the planning assassination attempt on Oswald Mosley, the takeover of Billy Kimber, or the deals with the Russians. As a cool side effect, it should be noted that the introduction of a daily schedule, as well as the planning of your goals, will subsequently help increase your discipline. Now, how can you implement scheduling and planning to become more like Tommy Shelby? Firstly, establish a daily schedule. Block out each hour or group of hours of the day and write specifically what you'll be doing during that hour or hours of the day. An example of this can be seen on the screen now. Once you have established a feasible schedule, it is also important that you take a good amount of time, such as 1 whole hour, to stare at a wall. Deeply think and then write down what your goals are, what you want to achieve, and the possible ways in which you can approach these tasks. In the modern day, we are so consumed by technology and overstimulation that we forget to actually take a moment to think about our lives, to think about our goals. Tommy Shelby, living in the 20th century with very little technology available, had plenty of time to think and meticulously plan out his goals, and the specific ways in which he wanted to achieve them. It is also important to understand that if you plan goals and ways about achieving them, yet you experience a setback or something doesn't go according to plan, do not panic. I repeat, do not panic. Unpredictability is an aspect of life, and no matter how prepared you are, the unexpected can always occur. Look at Tommy Shelby, for example. He planned Oswald Mosley's assassination precisely and strategically, yet he did not account for the IRA to thwart his plans. Another example is when Tommy was planning to take over Billy Kimber's gang in Season 1, Episode 6. Word got out to Billy Kimber, and Tommy's plan was deeply compromised, forcing him to act on his feet and procure a new solution, which still achieved him the same end goal, the securing of an enemy's opposition gang and their operations. Do not use failure or unexpected setbacks as an excuse to give up on your goals. Simply reevaluate the situation, reassess your problems, and find a new solution to follow through, and achieve your established goals. The next section focuses on books to read to become like Tommy Shelby. Now, as a disclaimer, it would be a disservice to the authors of their respective books if I was to provide all the information contained. However, Tommy is a master manipulator, a master at social interaction, body language, emotional suppression, planning, and leadership. Thankfully, there are a large variety of books which are relevant to these topics, and thus, here are some recommended books covering the previously aforementioned topics. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, The Art of War by Sun Tzu, Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, What Everybody is Saying by Joe Navarro and Marvin Carlins, The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli, Masters of Command, Alexander, Hannibal, Caesar, and the Genius of Leadership by Barry Strauss, How to Be a Leader, An Ancient Guide to Wise Leadership by Plutarch, Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene, The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, and finally, A Social History of England, 1851 to 1990, Francois Bedouardia. This is just a fun book covering the period a little before and during the rise and establishment of the Peaky Blinders gang. This is a great book if you are interested in England during that time period. For an extra fun slide and to end this course on, I thought that it would be interesting and perhaps beneficial to yourselves to know what books Tommy Shelby had actually read during the period of the show. The books mentioned in the show are as follows: The Work of Sigmund Freud, including his essays on Richard III, Forms of Greek Literature, most probably the classic philosophers, and poetry, like The Poison Tree by William Blake, as spoken in Season 6, Episode 1. And with that being said, this brings you to the end of my How to Become Like Tommy Shelby course. I provided which I believe to be essential and sufficient knowledge on how one can become like Tommy Shelby. minus the PTSD and trauma of World War I, of course. I hope that you enjoyed this course and learned something from its containments. And now, I will leave you with a quote from Tommy Shelby himself. Those of you who are last will soon be first, and those of you who are downtrodden will rise up.